Each month, restaurant hospitality will put the spotlight on rising stars, up and coming independent restaurant leaders that represent a next generation. We'll speak with these operators and chefs about the future of independent restaurants, menu and culinary innovations, operational adaptations, lessons learned, and more. And is sponsored by Smithfield Culinary. In this month's episode, executive pastry chef Felicia Mayden talks about her plans for the bakery cafe Lovage at the Ace Hotel in Chicago and how to encourage a team to bring their true selves into what they bake.
So Felicia Mayden, thanks for being here with us today. First, I want you to tell me a little bit about your history. Are you a Chicagoan originally?
Yeah, I am born and raised from the west side of Chicago.
And you graduated from Kendall College, which is in Chicago, and in the pastry program. What brought you to pastry? Why pastry?
I baked a lot with my family, mostly my aunt, the baker and cook of the family. And I just grew up watching her in the kitchen, watching my grandmother in the kitchen. And then once I got to high school, I really honed in more on pastry. We did a lot of charity bake sales and fundraisers and things that were baking like forward. And I fell in love with it, and that's what I decided for. And I had a advisor in high school who told me to check out Kendall College, and I went, and I felt like I was at home, and that's how I ended up in pastry and at Kendall.
And so tell me about your work history. I think you've been at some pretty fabulous restaurants in Chicago.
Yeah, right out of college, I worked at Nelco, which is no longer open. I was there for a good amount of time. And then from there, I went to GT Fish and Oyster, which is a Boca restaurant. I worked under Sarah Jordan, who is a Jean Banchet award-winning chef. And I worked for her for about 4 years, but I followed her everywhere that she went to. So we went from GT Fish and Oyster to Cicchetti, went from Cicchetti and helped her open her own restaurant that was in Logan Square. A mentor to me, even to this day, I can call her and say, hey, I need you to listen. I need you to give me some advice. I need you to help me with a project, anything. And she's really been a beacon in my career, and following her was probably the best thing for me. And if it wasn't for working for her, I wouldn't be where I am now.
So now you're at Lovage, which is in the Ace Hotel in the West Loop in Chicago. And tell me a little bit about the program that you have there and what you're doing. You're doing some really interesting baking.
Mm-hmm. So Lovage was kind of like a homage to the Lovage that was in the Ace property in London. Since that property is now closed, we kind of took it as this is our, paying our respects to that property and how popular that coffee shop was in London. So we wanted to kind of bring a little bit of that essence into our property in Chicago. So we didn't want it to feel like a traditional coffee shop, like a Starbucks or something like that. So we really tried to put that chef to table kind of aspect on a coffee shop. For pastry, I really wanted to give my staff something that they can enjoy, and we hadn't worked on a lot of laminated doughs or anything. So, and during the pandemic, a bit overzealous, but we were able to hone in on our technique, and we're still learning every single day, but we're able to play around more and learn different shapes and learn different ways to make laminated dough. And on top of that, we do a lot of things that I grew up eating. So I have my aunt's zucchini bread on, and we did a banana bread that was from Chef Mad. And so we try to bring a piece of ourselves literally into everything. And now we're actually going to grow Lovage a little bit more and kind of give it more of a personality and give it a face. We kind of call it like our little fishbowl because it's surrounded by all windows. So we are trying to give it more of a homey feel. And we're, it's surrounded with a ton of flowers and trees and plants inside the cafe. So we want you to kind of feel like an oasis, like you're in your own little fishbowl, and you might be working on, homework, or you might be working on work. You might just want to have a cup of coffee and just relax, and the pastries will, kind of give you that feel of, this is something that my grandmother made while you're on coffee. And then the staff is, warm and welcoming, and you just feel at home, and kind of like you're in your own little school in our little fishbowl. So we try to really hone in on that homey feel, and giving a little piece of ourselves to our customers.
And you've got some programs that I wanted to ask you about. There's things like the neighbor loaves that you were doing. Tell me about that. What is that?
So I got introduced to the neighbor loaves from a fellow Chicago pastry chef. And basically it's helping the farmers who, have the wheat stalks, on their farms. They are then taking the wheat, and that goes to the millers, who will grind it down and make our flours. And then the flour, us as, pastry chefs and cooks, and we'll turn that into a product that is then donated to that is in purchased by customers. And the customers have the option to then purchase another loaf that can be donated to someone in need. So it's kind of like your, normal chain of command, where you have someone who starts from the very bottom to the very top, and, helping give back to the community. It helps the miller and the purveyor, and then it also helps us on our end, the person that makes the product. But then we're giving back to the community who may need, whole grain. And I come from an area that is a food desert. So being able to, I chose a place that is in that neighborhood to give back to, because you don't have, especially in the neighborhood I grew up in, there's not a grocery store close by. So you have to go outside of your community in order to go to a grocery store to get fresh produce, or to get whole grains, or, to just get good food instead of all the junk that we see. So it's kind of like my way of giving back, and I'm glad that I was introduced to it. And I have a lot of friends who are actually participating in, and from the farming standpoint to the purveyor standpoint to the, other chef standpoint. So it is nice to be able to give back to the farmer, give back to the middle person, and give back to the community all at once.
I love that. It's like good karma all around. It's like everybody has a chance to
All
feel like they're being part of doing something good, which is great. And then also there's this Bakers Against Racism bake sale that you participated in, which also sounds really cool. It's bringing activism into the world of pastry. Tell me about that.
So I, scrolling through Instagram, a chef in New York who I got connected to a while ago, and noticed that she was hosting this bake sale. And I thought it was for just pastry chefs in New York, but I reached, and she said, no, we're, love anyone anywhere to participate. So I reached out to a bunch, past the post that I saw around, and next thing I know, it blew up bigger than I could even imagine, because a lot of people didn't know about it in Chicago. It was in light of, the George Floyd murder. And so, we all came together we could all donate to whatever charity we so choose. But it was just, hey, we don't like what we're seeing right now, and we're banding together in our prospective states and restaurants and things. We're banding together, say we're not standing for this. We're a team. It doesn't matter, race, creed, background, whatever from, we're all in this together, and we need to support each other. And that bake sale really, we're all different, but we're all the same. It's the same color, and we need to stick together, and what baked goods, and give the money back to, charities that need it, and, show Black and brown and any race that we're in this together, and we need to stick together.
So what is next for you? Tell me about what you're working on now, and what's next.
Currently, like I said, I am giving Lovage a face. I asked my boss if I could kind of take over Lovage and give it a personality and give it some love that it needed. And two, is good practice for me because I want to open a coffee shop one day. That's in the near future for me. And it'll, hone in on my management skills. It'll hone in on my pastry skills even more. I'm able to help my staff kind of step up to the next level in their career. Really important for me. So that's a big step for all of us all around. It's not just, my learning, but their learning as well. And really giving a coffee shop that kind of like its own little, like I said earlier, oasis. And then once I get there, I'm using my master's degree that I'm working on currently to help kind of aid in on what it's like to, teach everyone differently. I'm working on my master's in organizational leadership. And so, you have to teach everyone differently. So bringing everyone into our hotel and, really honing in on how to better manage that and how to, reach. And that's what Lovage now. And that's what I hope that I'm giving to my staff and that they're, prepared for their next. So that's pretty much what's next for me.
Well, that's fantastic. Yeah. And one thing I meant to ask you was you were on Food Network. You were on The Best Baker in America, season 4. This was led by Carla Hall, I love her. She's adorable. Tell me about that experience and how do you think that'll benefit you as you proceed with your career?
It was really hard. It wasn't easy at all. But the best thing that I got out of it was 9 other friends. These were pastry chefs from all over the country, and I literally talk to them almost every day. And, we're planning a reunion trip together. That was what was the best part of the show and filming. While it was hard and it was difficult at times, just looking over and someone that I just met a couple days prior saying, "You got this, you can do it," and it was just something that I needed in my career. It was a boost for me. It was a confidence boost for me because throughout your career you kind of doubt yourself, and I'm my worst me, but having the confidence to go on a Food Network show and, put myself out there and meet all these wonderful pastry chefs all over really helped me see that I'm exactly where I need to be and I'm doing exactly what I should be doing. And I'm with some of the best bakers right now in America, which was just, it was the best experience I've ever had.
Make sure to check out our next Rising Star, debuting on the 3rd Wednesday of every month. And if you know someone who is a rising star, let us know at lisa.jennings, JENNINGS @informa.com.